Good day, everybody. Meteorologist Robert Spenny with WesternPacificWeather.com, and it's currently the 1st of June 2011, so happy Memorial Day to all my friends back in the United States. And also, this is the first day of tropical season in the Northern Hemisphere, technically on the records for it, in the hurricanes out in the Atlantic, and also typhoon season out here in the Western Pacific, but typhoon season already off to an early start out here with the development of Super Typhoon Songda that has struck much of the area here last week, from ranging out just east of the Philippines up towards Okinawa, and as it developed into an extratropical low, pretty much did dump a lot of precipitation across much of Honshu here as well. So this is going to be a quick recap on that storm, and also looking into this next Invest 90W here just southwest of Taiwan. Actually, the HK Observatory did name it a tropical depression for a brief period of time, but since then has discontinued it. It still is an area of convection, likely going to get wrapped up in the Bayou front up here just south of Japan, but really continuing to watch it there, and also continuing to watch overall down here in the easterlies. But looking back on Typhoon Songda, though, the first warning, or the first development of this system, is going to take us clear back to May 16th, actually, here south of Guam, where the first development, actually the first invest on it, really kind of started to get noted. And I got this graphic here from Wikipedia, actually, so just got the link below if you want to get a little more information on these graphics here. But looking at the stat shot at initiation of Typhoon Songda, really disorganized here. This shot taken back on May 16th when it was originally called Invest 98W here south of Guam. Very disorganized, but once it started to track towards the west and eventually up to the north, did get released from a lot of the wind shear, and also Coriolis started to play a big part once it got north of 10 degrees. Thus, by the 19th, it did come rather organized here, actually. A lot of the outflow did come around the storm here. This sat shot taken on the 19th here, and as you can see, a lot of this banding started to flow into the system, starting to get north of 10 degrees north, and really overall wind shear started to get released on the system, and also it started to move in higher sea surface temperatures, so all the conditions for rapid development. Thus, JTWC and JMAs began warning on the system. This warning from JTWC actually on the 21st, as it was just southwest of Yap. Winds in Yap were right around about 30, gusting up to 40 knots. That really kind of equivalent with the max winds put it on this warning here of 35 knots, but I do want to note JTWC and JMA in the long run really accurate on this system as far as its track. Really kind of just following on the southwestern periphery of a subtropical ridge that was located up in this region, and then as a weakening, as a trough up to the north here kind of weakened that ridge, it would expect it to recurve right in this area here. So we all know it tracked a little bit farther to the west right in this region, but overall really good outlook on this from the initiation. But skipping ahead here actually to the 24th, it really did begin to take shape here and become a severe typhoon by this time. A well-defined eye, overall convection in the midst of the system, very high, and overall conditions were pretty much prime, even in May here, for the system to continue to develop. Looking at max winds of the system, around the time this sat shot was actually taken on the 25th, winds were sustained on a 1-minute average from JTWC here of 135 knots. So a very strong system, very dangerous at this time, and really good news, it just missed the Philippines, just off to the east. Also looking at pressure, a minimum of right around 920 HPA, so a very deep system as well, and definitely going to be one of the stronger systems of 2011, I believe, even though it did take place before the traditional start of tropical season of the 1st of June. But going back to this graphic here, this time period on the 25th was right around here just east of eastern Luzon. Reports of up to 3 deaths took place along the east coast of Luzon here, so really kind of sad story there. Actually, one of them was specifically just due to somebody fishing out there, so really some of those deaths could have been avoided. But basically on the 26th and the 27th, the storm continued to track off to the north and then rapidly off towards the northeast towards the Ryukyu Islands, but it did begin to slowly weaken due to increased vertical wind shear associated with the westerlies. Actually, vertical wind shear was upwards of 90 to 100 knots all the way up towards Japan, but here in the Luzon Strait, you can actually see on this microwave imagery much of the convection starting to get wrapped up in the northern side of the system, and that really led to the overall dissipation of it here. But nonetheless, though, it did not decrease much of the winds up here in the southern Ryukyu Islands and up towards Okinawa. Actually, videographer James Reynolds out of Hong Kong shot some absolutely awesome footage here on the southern Ryukyu Islands. Actually, if you click down here to the left, you can check out his channel, or to the right, also posted a video of basically his travelings to the southern Ryukyu Islands, and some really great footage and really great story there describing how he got there and basically overall his travels in shooting this footage. So please, I encourage everybody to check those two out. Really some of the best footage I've seen on this typhoon. But overnight on the 27th into overnight on the 28th, the storm did rapidly become extratropical. Actually, here overnight on the 28th, it passed just west of Okinawa here. Max sustained winds reported at Kadena actually were right around about 70 to 80 knots. Now, that's officially reported. Some wind gusts actually reported were higher. I know a radar system got knocked out here on Okinawa as well. So, as the system did pass to the west, very strong winds were reported there. It really battered the island, but no significant storm surge reported yet. Widespread flooding also coming out of there, and still plenty of pictures online here of some basically superficial damage, some minor structural damage, but looks like the island fared over well here. But actually, also no reports of any deaths coming out of Okinawa. Up to 56 people injured, so really kind of sad news there, but really good news that there was no loss of any lives here. Just showing the radar imagery here of basically when the center of the system was just off to the west, showing that extratropical development starting to set in here, as much of the inner core of the system really was dissipated due to some dry air advection coming in from the southwest and wrapping into the system. So the outer eye wall was still there with some outer rain bands, but overall though the amount of precipitation was much less than what could have happened, and as the much of the precipitation and the highest wind started to get moved away from the center of the system out towards the outer rain bands, and thus the transition to extratropicals. Which brings me to the extratropical phase of this system, which seems to be the more deadly one. Actually, up to 13 deaths reported up here in the Miyagi Prefecture and some of the areas that were hit by the tsunami earlier this year, and really just due to widespread flooding up there. Housing and habitability really low, so just such a sad situation coming out of there, just because the system was not that intense once it got up into this region, but still a high amount of precipitation causing that flooding and such. Actually, myself here along the Kanto Plain, I work on a ship out here, got moved out to sea just to avoid some of the high winds that were originally predicted here in the region. Ended up only seeing upwards of about 25 knots sustained, but nonetheless though just played it safe out here, so I ended up going out here towards the southeast, and as you can see on this video footage, it was pretty scary at times. Actually, seas upwards of 15 feet, winds about 40 to 50 knots, reported at various times throughout are underway here. So just one of those situations I can tell people in the future all about, that I rode through a tropical storm. As you can see on the footage here, some pretty high waves and intense stuff. But overall though, today, June 1st, though, the low continues to track off towards the east. A very extratropical now, but exceptionally deep of 988 HPA here. Occluded, though, and continues to move off to the east as high pressure ridges in behind it, producing fair weather in all of the areas that really just got hit by this storm here. So one good thing is, in the wake of most tropicals, you do have that good weather moving in behind it. As shown on JMA here, though, JMA also calling this TD down here southeast of Hong Kong, drifting off to the north. Not expecting too much out of that though, as is seen on the IR imagery, really weak right now, but it does continue to have 1004 HP on it, drifts off to the north, so expecting some precipitation here just northeast of Hong Kong, really in the Taiwan Straits here, and along the western portion of Taiwan as well, where basically much of the population of the island lives out in this region, so could see some heavy precipitation there as well. But I would not expect too much else from it. As you can see here, it really is starting to weaken up overall here, just running across Taiwan, and going to eventually get wrapped up in the Bayou stationary front here, just south of Korea and over Japan. So just continuing to watch that though, but that is all for today, everybody. Thanks again for listening to WesternPacificWeather.com. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can always post them in the comment box below or at the website at Western Pacific Weather. Also want to note, I got a lot of these graphics from storm2k.org, plenty of meteorological discussion on Typhoon Songda there, and also on this new tropical depression of 90W here just south of Taiwan. Plenty of meteorological discussion actually going on overall in the tropics and across the world in all sorts of weather, so I really highly encourage people to go there. And also go and check out that video from James Reynolds at typhoontheory.com. Really some good stuff there as well. So thanks again, everybody, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.